I'm a huge fan of the Ratchet and Clank series, so when I heard there was a new game coming out that was part reboot and part remake, I was honestly pretty excited, because the last game in the series I played was Into the Nexus, and I couldn't even give you a summary of what that one was about. It was so forgettable. All I know for certain is I beat it, and there were some zero-gravity areas. I think. Needless to say, the formula is getting stale, so it definitely needed a reboot, but saying it lived up to my expectations would be an outright lie. Strap in, because hell hath no fury like a fanboy's rage. Like I said before, this Ratchet and Clank is sort of a reimagining based off the new movie, which I didn't see. It has many identical levels and a similar setup to the original game, but Captain Qwark is our narrator this time around, and the story diverges quite a bit, and not necessarily for the better. Our main hero is Ratchet, a creature called a Lombax who has some delusions of grandeur. His partner is Clank, a robotic defect who flees his factory in search for Captain Qwark to help save the galaxy. They meet up, find Captain Qwark, join his galactic rangers, and work together to stop an evil villain from destroying planets.
Warbots must vanquish those who would seek to stop us.
Unfortunately, this version of the story lacks any nuances and charm that the original had. In this version, they instantly become best friends, have instant chemistry, and are the best at everything. This makes them flatter characters than Mr. Game & Watch. In the original, they paired up due to different goals and didn't always get along, and it was genuinely interesting to experience. They even fucked up the main villains and twisted them into one-dimensional caricatures with the laziest motivations. The dialogue is equally as poor. It would be generous to even call some of these jokes. I may have chuckled a few times, but most of the comedy, which is a majority of the dialogue, falls hard on its face.
Most difficult has been trying to say the word telepathopus 10 times fast. I believe it is impossible. Telepathopus, 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 telepathopus.
The humor is so bad, this game should be renamed to Ratchet and Cringe.
Chisel abs detected.
They even included actual clips from the movie, which sorta handcuffed Insomniac to this bullshit plot. The story is now centered around the movie, as opposed to the movie being centered around the game, which makes the whole thing feel stretched thin. Thanks to these movie clips, if they actually gave a decent amount of time to the main characters like they did in the first game, then the plot wouldn't make any sense and it would basically usurp the movie. I'm aware this movie and game are marketed towards kids, but this is one of those releases that feels way too shallow instead of being enjoyable for all ages. Gameplay is pretty standard for a Ratchet and Clank game. You run, you jump, you shoot bad guys with a plethora of unique weapons, the best being the Pixelizer, which is a shotgun that pixelizes enemies. Now the combat isn't exactly the fastest or too challenging, but things can get pretty chaotic, especially when there are a bunch of enemies and explosions on screen. It's all par for the course, but it doesn't do enough to innovate. Everything from the jetpack to the ship segments to most of the evolving weapons have been done before, and it doesn't exactly breathe any novelty into this series.
Mr. Zircon is born.
The game will occasionally switch things up by allowing you to take control of Clank and solve some puzzles. Once again, this is nothing new, but they're admittedly a nice change of pace and require quite a bit of critical thinking. If this Ratchet and Clank has one thing going for it, it's the visuals. Environments are filled with color and pop, not to mention there are particle effects everywhere you look. However, even if the majority of the game looks good, and it does, it can feel a bit inconsistent at times, especially with the cutscenes. Sometimes you'll end up with gorgeous graphics layered over awkwardly animatronic characters. While we're on the topic of inconsistency, the voice acting is also hit or miss. Major characters are voiced pretty well, but the minor characters, like Cora, have some downright pitiful lines.
We're at the defense cannon, but it looks like the system's on lockdown. There won't be anything standing between him and every planet in the system. Into the elevator! Hurry! It looks like the main office is up there. Nice work, Ratchet. Hop on the defense cannon. I'll cover you.
Stop talking!
How is that acceptable? I could put more emotion in my voice and I sound like crap. The music this time around has also been downgraded to the most generic orchestral tracks I've ever heard. Here's a song on the original. And here's the same level on this game. Don't get me wrong, it gets the job done, but the levels feel much less unique because the music with actual charm that established an atmosphere has been stripped away for some soulless violins. I know I've been pretty hard on this game, but for $40, it's not bad. Hold on, what's this? The HD Trilogy is only $20. Huh. Then I guess this game can go straight to hell. D+. So yeah, I didn't really care for this one. Keep in mind, it's still a perfectly functional game, but compared to the original, that it's partly based on, and more recent titles, this game is below average. It feels hollow and stale, almost like it was made for a quick buck. For a successful reboot, the Ratchet and Clank series needed more innovation and heart, which this game completely lacks. So if you're thinking about getting into the Ratchet and Clank series, buy another game. If you're a fan, you can probably skip this one. You're not missing anything.
Words hurt, Solitary Bill.